Good morning guys, it's Dave at All Important Reviews. Please smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please click the like button for more awesome content. I've got with me today two fairly popular, well very popular, AliExpress Homage watches. They're both stainless steel bracelet automatic watches that are homaged from the Rolex Submariner, informally known as the Smurf, which is blue ceramic bezel with blue dial. The Rolex Smurf is actually now a discontinued model. I think it was discontinued this year in September when the Rolex have brought out the black dial, blue ceramic bezel, white gold model that is informally known as the Cookie Monster. Now on the left we have the Lige 6801, which is a 40mm model that you can get, I believe, for just under, in fact I believe you can actually get it right this second in a deal under £46, which, as I'm going to talk about later, is an absolute steal. This model is the Pagani design 1639, and again that model is around £50 I believe, and that again is an absolute steal. The Pagani is 43mm, the Lige is 40mm. They both nominally have ceramic blue bezels, blue dials, fully solid stainless steel bracelets, completely solid end links, solid links, and a fully milled clasp. They both have a very, very similar bracelet in terms of the mechanism on the clasp, etc. Both have divers extensions, and they both have allegedly NH35 movements. This is the manufacturer's stated spec, and they both nominally have sapphire crystals. But this is going to be a comparison review. So let's talk about the size. So the size, being more true to form, more true to the original that it's homaged from, I'm going to have to give it to the Lige. The Lige is, I would say, a perfect size almost. 40mm just fits my wrist perfectly at just over 7¼ inch wrists. The thickness, again, the thickness is about 12.5mm, which is ideal really for this type of watch. The closer you can get to 12mm, well, the thinner you get is better really, but they're both a very similar thickness. I think this is 12.7mm and this is about 12.4, 12.5mm, but they fit very, very good. I'm going to have to give the winner for the size to the Lige, because it is closer to the original and it is a better fit on my personal wrists. But if you want more wrist presence, then get the 43mm off the Pagani. So in terms of the weight, obviously this one is going to be a little bit heavier, only a little bit, because of the extra case size. Now let's talk about the bezels. I'll just show you the bezel in this one. So they both are ceramic, so they both get top marks for being ceramic. The Lige is a moderate feeling on the bezel. It's not amazing, be straight up honest with you. You're both unidirectional, you can't. There is a bit of back play there. It's not an amazing feel, that, I'll be honest with you. I'll just to show you on the Pagani. That is a much nicer, teethier feel. It grips far better. That is a much nicer feeling. Again, they both have a bit of black play, but I'm going to give the winner on the bezel to Pagani. Again, in reality, if you're not actually going to be diving with these watches, does it matter? That's one thing I forgot to mention actually, is water resistance, which I'll talk about in a bit. They both are stated 100m. But the bezel, I'm going to give the winner clearly to Pagani. although they both are ceramic and they both are a beautiful, very, very similar, almost identical coloured bezel insert. So the bezel, they are identical as far as I can see in terms of the colour. So if you're not going to be using the bezel, and I don't know how many people are going to really be diving with these watches, then really it would have to be a draw because you're not really going to use them. But the winner is the Pagani for feel and etc. Okay, so let's talk about the crystal. So the crystal again is stated as sapphire in both of them. Both manufacturers state it's sapphire, and I have seen many reviews of the Pagani watches, and other reviewers have got the diamond tester, which I've got on order, and which tests for the hardness of things, and they've tested the Paganis, and the Paganis have passed. So it is really sapphire in this. Now in the Lige, I've seen differences in reviews. I believe Perth Watch, which is a good YouTuber who reviews a lot of watches in Australia, I think he's reviewed this watch, the Lige, and from what I can remember, his was sapphire. However, another reviewer on their particular unit did not pass the sapphire test, and it was just hardlex or some other type of crystal. So I'm going to give the winner to Pagani only based on that. I cannot test whether these are sapphire or not, so I cannot yet tell you. So I'm going to give the winner to Pagani on that, although I'm going to have to trust the manufacturer that it is sapphire until I get this tool that will enable me to test it. Okay, so far the Lige has won on the size because it is a nicer size in my opinion. You can actually buy this watch, well, you can't buy it in blue dial and blue bezel in 40mm, but you can buy the Cookie Monster, Smurf, Hulk, etc. and all that, Kermit. You can buy all them off Pagani in 40mm, and they are actually my favourite watch as well. So maybe I will do a comparison. I'm going to do a comparison coming up with other watches. But anyway, Lige's won the size, Pagani's won on the bezel and the crystal. Let's talk about the dial. The dial is an absolute clear winner to Lige because, as you can see, and if you can't see, I can see it with my eyes when I'm not looking at the camera, the Pagani, for some reason, they have messed up on this blue model. They have messed up the colour of the dial. The sunburst dial is purple on the Pagani. On the Lige, it is blue. There is only a tiny twinge of purple in the Lige. So for whatever reason, it must be difficult for manufacturers when they use these sunburst dials. It must be difficult for them to pick the right blue so that it looks blue in the sun kind of thing. So they seem to struggle with it because a few other manufacturers have made purple dials as well when they tried to do blue. So the purple is a problem. It can be if you're not really fond of that. If you don't really like that, and I don't personally. As you can clearly see, the Pagani is purpley. The Lige is not. The Lige is blue. So the clear winner there, in my opinion, is the Lige. In terms of the actual dial markings, etc., they're both very similar. The Cyclops is superior on the Pagani in terms of magnification. You could almost argue that it over magnifies it. The dials are both very similar in that they both have the logos of Lige and Pagani, and obviously their respective, text. And then they have automatic water resistance 10 bar 100 meter, are both exactly the same for that. But the winner that we care about in terms of the look is obviously clearly going to be the Lige because it's closer to the blue than the Pagani. So let's talk about the Lume, which I can show you at the end of the video. I'm going to give, even though they're both quite poor, I'm actually going to give it to the Lige because the Lige hands are excellent. The Lige hands are very loomed. The Lige indices are not very loomed, but on the Pagani they're both quite poor. So it's not a clear winner, but I'm going to give it to the Lige on that. Okay, so now then, let's talk about bracelets. Bracelets, they're both pretty much identical in terms of function and materials, really. They both claim to be 316 stainless steel. They're both solid end links and solid links, both in the 3-link style. Both have a functioning bracelet clasp, fold over deployant with a safety catch. Both work completely fine. However, both are completely brushed. However, the Pagani is 21mm. So the Pagani is 21mm because it's a bigger case. It's a 43mm. Again, both have the exact same feel to the clasp and mechanism. Both have the terrible micro adjust. Both have the diver's extension and the spring bar mechanism to micro adjust it. So they both have the same limitations in that regard. However, the brushing is slightly better on the Pagani. So the brushing is better on the Pagani, and I think the refinement and the jangliness is better on the Pagani. So I'm giving it's a very, very, very narrow win to the Pagani. Really, it's a draw, but I'm going to give a very narrow win to the Pagani. But they're pretty much the same bracelet, basically. Okay, so let's talk about movement. So the movement, they both have stated NH35, which is about 30 seconds, give or take a day, accurate. So both inaccurate, basically. It's not a loud movement, it's a decent movement. People are saying that this is not an NH35. I don't know how they've determined that. They're saying it's a clone. I don't know if that's true. The manufacturer stated that it's NH35. I'm not sure. They're both, you know, similar accuracy. I'm going to give it a draw on that. Water resistance, again, they're both 100-meter water resist. So, and I've took both of these in a shower. Not that that's a real test. I've run them both underwater. Both are completely fine. I'm going to give them both a draw on that. So, what about quality? What about quality control? I'm actually going to give the quality control to the Pagani, only because the finishing on the bracelet, the finishing of the brushing, I think is slightly superior on the Pagani, slightly. Although you can get QC issues with both, there's no question about that. You can get QC issues with loads of Paganis and with Lige because these are cheap manufacturers. I'm going to give the quality, overall quality, and the feel of it. They both feel very well made watches, but I'm going to give it to Pagani. So what about appearance? So appearance, I'm going to give it to Lige because they're true to the size of 40mm and the colour of the dial is correct. It is blue. So it looks better in my opinion. And what about value? Well, because of the deal you can get now at just over 45 quid, I'm gonna incredibly, this has been beaten on value in that you can actually get this for below £46, which is just straight up insane, really. So I'm going to give the value to the Lige. So overall, which is the winner? Well, if we're just comparing blue dial and blue bezels, for me, if you just want the look of the blue dial and blue bezel, that's why I'm not talking about all the other watches that both manufacturers make. I'm just talking about a comparison of the Smurf homages. I'm going to give the winner personally to the Lige. The size of 40mm and the correct dial does it for me. This is, for my wrist, a little bit too big, and it's got a purple dial, which I don't like. So this will be getting sold. So basically, but it is a close one. It is a close one, but for me, the winner is Lige. Because of those two factors. And the comfort, the overall comfort on the wrist, I'll put them both on the wrist. They're both on the wrist. It's difficult to actually see that that one's bigger, but the Lige is on the left and the Pagani is on the right. Yeah, comfort, clearly the Lige wins because of its size. But wrist presence, obviously the bigger watch wins, so the Pagani wins for that. But overall, I'm going to give it to the Lige on this one. Okay, it's been Dave at All Important Reviews. Please hit that subscribe button and click the like. There's going to be loads more reviews coming up. I've got an Invicta to review. I've got a Hulk to review. I've got loads of other stuff. Thanks a lot for checking my videos. Have a great day.